Hey guys, let's talk about this book page tumbler. Now, before any of you meanies decide to comment, I am very well aware that this cup is not perfect. I had a vision and I tried to make it come true, and I think it was pretty good. I mean, it's for me, and I don't claim to be perfect. I'm just here trying to make things and teach you so you can learn from my mistakes. And you know what? If you like Harry Potter, I think you probably like this cup. A couple things you'll notice, I only did the page like 3/4 of the way down the cup because I put the glitter on it, and I just had this wonderful vision of having the silhouette of that castle on the bottom, and there were a couple pieces that didn't line up exactly. So that's why I would encourage you, if you're gonna do a stencil at the bottom, to take the book pages all the way down, where I did not do that. But it's fine. I think it looks really cool. You could even go another step further and add some vinyl. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is that I used a real book. You could print on a piece of paper and, color it with tea. People do that, so you don't have to use a real book. I got a secondhand book and used it for this purpose, but some people may not feel comfortable doing that. So it's totally up to you. I hope you like the video. Comment below if you have any questions, and make sure you subscribe if you are enjoying what you're seeing and you don't want to miss any new content. So I started by cutting out some book pages from an old copy of one of my books. I actually bought another copy from Half Price Books to use for just this purpose. You want to make sure you have a variety of different sizes and shapes when you're choosing your pages. Now, I carefully chose pages with specific quotes that I liked and parts of the book that I like, but that's obviously optional. You can just choose any book and any page if you just want the look and don't care about what it says. So I'm just taking a lighter and going around each page and blowing it out as soon as I can. You can see that I have like pretty thick charred edges. I think that if I were to do it again, I'd try to make them a little thinner, but I think it turned out nice. So I prepped my cup, I sanded it, I washed it, and then I did a couple coats of universal white. And I know I've said before that I don't love Mod Podge, but that's how I'm going to attach my book pages. So you can also see another thing that I did that I really recommend is that the very top, I'm just going around, and that edge did not have any charredness to it. I didn't burn that edge, so it just lays really clean along the top. So once I put on the page, I did go over the top of it with just a little bit of Mod Podge. The less you use, the better. I didn't have any sort of plan in terms of where pages would go. I just knew that I wanted these specific pages and the clean edge around the top. I did leave a little bit of a space just to make sure that there was room for my Brite Tone on the edge of the cup. So I just chose random pages, put Mod Podge on the back, and attached them to the cup, and I went around in a random pattern to just get the cup completely filled. Something I also recommend is I had specific quotes that I wanted on the cup, but also cut a couple pages that you don't care about, like just random pages, because a lot of them have to overlap and some of your quotes might be covered up if that's something you wanted to do. So I only went like 3/4 of the way down the cup, but I wouldn't do that next time. So first things first, I let it dry for 48 hours. You need to let your Mod Podge dry completely, and I say at least 48 hours. So because Mod Podge and Brite Tone aren't the best of friends, I decided to do 2 coats of E6000 over the top of that Mod Podge. But again, the Mod Podge needs to dry at least 48 hours. So I just went all the way around the cup and I let it spin for about an hour, and I did 2 coats of the E6000. After that last coat of E6000 dried for about 3 hours, I went ahead and started adding my layers of Brite Tone. Make sure that you keep your layers super thin, about 2 milliliters, just enough to get your cup covered. You don't want any thick spots. You don't want any drips, right? Just as thin as you can. And I did 2 coats 4 hours apart. And once those 2 coats were dry, I added a stencil to the cup that I just traced from Google in my Silhouette software. I decided to mix a little bit of blue pigment into Brite Tone in order to get like a blue base under my blue glitter. I'm using stencil vinyl, but I don't recommend that. I much more recommend that you use Oracle 631. The removable vinyl works significantly better. Since I filmed this, have tried using the stencil vinyl again, and I had some of the same issues. So don't do it. I let my 2 coats of the blue, I did 2 coats of the blue, I think, and then I let those dry completely, which is 4 hours. And then it is time to add my glitter. So I just used my finger, which doesn't always work the best for me. A brush tends to work better. But I got all of my Brite Tone all over the bottom of the cup. And then I pour on my glitter. I'm using Royal Blue from Painted Valley Designs on this cup. I ended up needing a second coat of glitter. So I let this coat dry for 4 hours, right? Everything you do needs to dry for at least 4 hours with CrystaLac. And I ended up needing a second coat. So what I did was I brushed on some E6000 spray. I tapped off the excess glitter, first things first. And then I went and sprayed the E6000 and used my brush to get it even. And then I just poured on my second coat of glitter. Using E6000 is a good method to add your second coat of glitter. You could use Brite Tone as well. It's really just what works best for you. So once I got all my glitter added, I let this dry for about an hour or so, maybe 2. But I didn't want to add too much over the top of this stencil because I didn't want anything to peel up. I didn't want to add too much. And you can see how difficult it is for me to pull off this stencil vinyl. I highly do not recommend it. Stick to the Oracle 631. But I eventually got it all off, and I'm so surprised it didn't ruin my cup. You can see that there is a little bit of bleeding, which is why I would not use the stencil vinyl. Again, I much prefer the Oracle 631 removable vinyl. But once I did that, I decided I needed to seal the glitter, right? I didn't want glitter all over the rest of the cup. So I just took my brush and brushed on the E6000 just over the glitter portion. I did not need to do the whole cup, right? I just wanted to make sure that the glitter wasn't going anywhere. I let that dry for about an hour or so, maybe 2. And then I continued with coats of Brite Tone. I did this on the entire cup. I did 3 coats every 4 hours, right? Every coat needs to dry for 4 hours. And after about 4 coats, you can move on to your sanding process. It's important that you do the sanding process on this type of cup especially because now I have 2 coats of the blue Brite Tone and I have 2 coats of glitter. So it's really thick around the edge of that stencil where it is not on the book pages. So you need to make sure that you take your 400 grit sandpaper and sand just on the bottom over the glitter. And I did this after 4 coats. And once it is sanded, you'll see that it should be a little bit white. You should be getting a little bit of dust. That's why we wear a mask when we sand. And then you can just wash, just rinse and dry the cup before you continue on your layers. Okay, you're going to continue doing layers, do 3 more and then sand, 3 more and then sand, 3 more until that starts to level out, and then you'll be done once it's fully smooth. Again, every layer of CrystaLac needs to dry for 4 hours, and especially on a cup that is only partly glitter, you're going to want to make sure that you sand just over the glitter every 3 coats until you start to get a smooth surface. Once it's smooth, let it dry for about 5 days before you use it or pass it along to its new owner. Comment below if you have any questions, and join me in that next video.